What's up, guys? It's your boy, Angry Jackalope, Robert R. Ricks. Holy fuck, guys. I am kind of beat to shit. A good friend of mine from Idaho came to visit, Shadow Master. Let's get close. Let's get close. And he he was drinking some sake, and I was drinking Kraken rum and Sailor Jerry. And I finished my bottles, and he finished his bottle. But his bottle only had like 3 shots left, so he kind of acted as a bartender for me, I guess. Anyway, we were kind of just hanging out and mentally debriefing and stuff like that. And there's been a really crazy 3 or 4 days for me. What's up, Medicus Canet and Angry Dracula Pinchy? What's up? And so I've just been kind of sitting back and watching all different types of news, all different types of social feeds, just kind of observing, just sitting back, and then also talking with a lot of different people and just listening, you know, just checking in with folks and just listening. And some of the observations that I have been making are pretty crazy. So we're still pretty divided. There's a lot of people that had a lot emotionally riding on the Q movement, and those folks, I don't think, have quite reconciled that betrayal, that psyop. And for those folks, I feel really bad because they were filled with just a tremendous amount of hope, and they were all the way. I mean, there is a lot that still thinks that it's going on, that it's progressing to the next stage, and stuff like that. And I'm like, be careful. If anything else, this was a very good, clean warning to us that hope, putting your hope and your trust. See, there was a big word that was used over and over again. Trust a plan, trust a plan, trust a plan. There was an inherent flaw with that trust the plan concept, which was put your faith in establishments, and the establishments will prevail and take care of you. Well, that has always been kind of a scary concept. Even when I was postulating who might have been behind Trump or what Q possibly was, etc., it was always a scary thought to me. Like, okay, well, we know with the Rothschild Illuminati, that group, kind of what we've been dealing with, because we've been dealing with it for a very long time. And so if the other side was a different master, well, that would have still meant we were slaves answering just to a different master. So that always was a little disconcerting for me, but the argument was one is a faster path to re-education camps, things of that nature, and the other one, well, we'll see what happens with that one, right? Kind of a wait and see. But anyway, any rate, when you put your faith in organizations and things like that, all you're doing is just handing the leash attached to your yoke over to somebody else. And if we ever really want to change things, it's kind of up to us. And so I've had those thoughts in my head, right? Oh, did I have a playback error? That's funny because it's not showing me any data loss or anything else. But I am using words like Rothschild, Illuminati, blah blah blah. So we all know that all of the things that we do are monitored and watched, and they want to make sure that the slaves don't step out of line. So it's entirely likely that I said one of the forbidden words and got tripped up. I said Biden, Trump, Illuminati, Rothschild, blah blah blah, right? But it also was talking about slavery and yokes and things like that. So yeah, there's a lot of a lot of words there that could get me observed, right? We live in precarious times. Hey, what's up, Rambo? What's up, Vixen? Simo, calm. So, as I've been sitting back and looking at all of these Bernie memes and stuff spreading across these different social platforms and seeing a lot of rage and a lot of anger, and some people that are still really deep into the hopium, um, it's becoming more and more apparent to me the sheer amount of brain damage, brainwashing, and mental assault that happens to all of us on a regular basis. Right, Brian? Fuck, I gotta watch the language. Gotta watch the words, because this is an Orwellian, thought police happening on a regular basis. But, as I was sitting and talking with a couple of my friends, I had one friend. He was telling me about a childhood friend of his. They had beef. The friendship was about to end based off of this whole, you know, presidential election shit. And I was like, bro, I am like this. I said, I have known you how long now? And then, we kind of did the math, and it was like 12 years. And I said, in those 12 years, I have never seen you so fired up over politics, period. And he was like, yeah. It's like, and your friend, this is your childhood friend. This is a motherfucker you grew up with and have had adventures with and everything else. And, you're gonna let political bullshit come between you and practically family. And he was like, well, they don't, um, he don't see the world the right way. And I'm like, he doesn't see the world the right way, or you also don't see the world the right way? Like, what is the quote unquote right way? Right? What is the right way? And I was sitting there just looking at that like, dude, you're throwing a friendship away over individuals who really at the end of the day don't give a flying fuck about you. They don't. So why are you risking that shit? Agent Rob. That's the other thing that's really, really crazy is the amount of propaganda and the amount of shit that they use effectively against us. And that was a big eye opener for me, because as I have been continually diving deeper and deeper down the very obscure rabbit hole of monarch bullshit, it's amazing to me. I've now come across over 30 patents dealing with subliminal conditioning, and I'm like, wow, dating back to the 60s. Most recent one I found was in 2017, and I'm like, shit, what the fucking hell, So, that shit's just it just like, and the funny thing is like I'm not upset, I'm not afraid, I'm not even concerned. I'm just academically amazed that it's so blatant and it's in our face 24/7, which leads me to my 2021 resolution. As I was scrolling around on Facebook, there was one post, because I'm part of different author groups there, and so there's a lot of people that are up there asking people's opinions on things, and they're like, hey, help me figure out a name. Like, there's so many people asking others to do the work for them. And that's the thing that kind of is the big takeaway here. Everybody wants everybody else to do the work. Nobody wants to do the work. Nobody wants to make the sacrifice. Nobody wants to hurt. And I hate to say it, but for the type of change that we want, there needs to be a substantial amount of pain and sacrifice. There needs to be a whole lot of selfless people that are going to be the example. So remember that expression right there, be the example, because that's going to lead into this 2021 piece that I was talking about. You just received a notice. That's funny, right? It's funny. It is what it is. I mean, we just have to leverage whatever systems we have access to, and just get our mind right. So here was the thing. Yeah, people won't even read to save themselves, it seems. Seriously. Yeah. So here's the thing that I saw though. This person posted up a thing that said it was basically a person that was complaining about fantasy genre, which I hadn't really thought about. Like I have a lot of urban fantasy. I have a kind of blend of sci-fi fantasy, some other stuff like that. But anyway, even in the sci-fi, this complaint is still relevant. This person basically was bemoaning the fact that fantasy, um, that he or she, I don't know which one, if it was a guy or a girl, the person basically was saying when they were growing up, they had fantasy worlds like Tolkien, and other things where the world itself was fucking amazing, and so as they read to escape, right? Because this world is always kind of precariously hanging off of one disaster or another one or some other shit, right? So escapism, like reading to get away and to, you know, ex- uh, uh, expose certain things, but in a more generalized way to help people to learn to understand core concepts of things like honor, integrity, virtue, etc. Right? We don't see a lot of that. We don't. And the funny thing about the what the person said, and it was fucking true as shit, and I'm guilty of it in like all of my writing right now, is you're trying to escape from this world into another world as you're reading, and you jumping into a shittier world, right? A darker world. And I'm like, fuck, this person is dead on right. Like, things have gotten really, really dystopian times 9,000. My wife commented she was watching me play Cyberpunk 2077. And she's like, holy shit, that is a fucking dark game. I'm like, yeah, it's just like the shit I write. I love this shit, right? And I caught myself today as I was realizing, that that game. She said that game is dark, but I look at that game as kind of like you know a realistic, futuristic depiction of a possible, um, you know, cyberpunk dystopian possibility. Same like when you look at those Black Mirror episodes and things like that. Those are possible, right? Those are things. They're cautionary tales of where we're going. I mean, even 1984. You know, those are all cautionary tales of where we're going, or could even be a scathing example of what our world is already, has already transpired, right? So I sat there and I go, fuck. And so I was just eating with my kids, and I told them, you know what? I don't do resolutions, but I have a goal for this year. Uh, Cyberpunk 2077, Brian. Um, so I have a goal for this year, which is to start a new book series, but I want to make that world so fucking amazing that when readers read it, they're like, fuck, I want to live here. Uh, I want to live in this fucking world, right? Kind of like when Harry Potter first popped off. This writer that put this post out said when Harry Potter first popped out, you had kids everywhere hoping that some fucking owl was gonna fly in and, you know, give them a letter telling them that they are, part of the wizard school and shit like that. So there was this fun world that they had created that was magical and blah blah blah. But I even pointed out to my kids, Harry Potter eventually ended up got really dark too. You know, so my goal with this series is, um, there, it's, and my daughter was like, "Oh, are you going to make a utopian world?" I'm like, "No, far from it. No, 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 far from it. I actually want to make a world where people have purpose and the world itself is just filled with things that are just fun, right? Just really cool stuff. And what I want to do is I want to use the setting, the world itself that the book contains to be a character. I want the setting to be a character. And then what I want to have happen is the characters, the characters themselves, by their actions and the way that they believe and everything, um, there's going to be inevitable threat because humanity is flawed. We all understand that as human beings we have our inherent flaws, right? So I wanna tackle that, but what I want to have happen is the planet, its reality starts to get fucked up, and then the the reader who loves this environment is going to be like, oh fuck no, this shit needs to be fucking fixed. These characters need to solve why things are going awry, and then I want these characters that are in there to have, um, be living embodiments of different things like virtue and honor and things of that level. And by their actions and their sacrifices and their willingness to do, they in turn set examples for people that are witnessing these events. And then by that, they say win the hearts of the people and the hearts and the minds of the people, right? So as they get the hearts and the mind and they realize that fear, all of the fear that suddenly people like, things, anomalistic things start happening, and some maybe some monsters or something pop up that were never there before. So suddenly the population becomes afraid, and this could be like an analogy for like Rona, right? Everybody, oh, the Rona, the Rona, the Rona, but really at the end of the day, it's the fear and the magic boxes that push that fear out harder. So when the people realize that it's their belief and their mindset to actually do things, then the world gets better. And what my hope is, as people read these, subconsciously they are witnessing, right? They're witnessing the change that the people do, and they make their world, which was awesome to begin with, even better, right? And then hopefully, because we see this all the time in cosplay, you see people emulating the characters and dressing up as Harlequin and all this other stuff like that, when the reality is what we're doing is we're creating the reality around us based off of these different forms of entertainment. And now we're starting to see that shit mirroring in our world. So I have made a declaration in my mind, because the last 10 books that I put out, they're all pretty dark. They're really dark. And I think you can have an amazingly wonderful environment where people have purpose and people are working for common goals and things of that nature and sacrificing, and like I would love to write a story where it's a father-son story and the son does not understand the core concept of honor, and then the father is, through his actions, teaching his son this is honor, right? And that way, you know in our life, in our real world, I would love to hear a father telling me, you know, I try to instill the core concepts of honor and stuff inside of my son, but he just never got it. But as he grew up with your books, they were abundantly there as examples. And then, by that, we're creating our own subliminal programming for positive stuff, um, teaching things about virtue, teaching things about being proud of yourself, teaching a woman how to be a woman, a man to be a man, right? And to show the power of things like redemption and change and things like that, you know. Um, and then that way, there, in addition to the core concept of hope, now we also see the reward of hard work. Like I try to tell my kids all the time. I try to tell my kids all the time. When you work hard at something and you really, really work hard at it, other people might just look at it like, yeah, you have a clean toilet there, right? But you yourself know there was all this grime and there was all of this other stuff that other people didn't want to do anything to because it was gross. But you did it. And you look at it like it's not just a clean toilet to you, it's an accomplishment, you know? And I tried my best to explain to my children the reward of the hard work is the hard work. It's not that toilet's clean now. It's that you did it. You accomplished it. You did that. I don't know who it was. I think it was a military guy. I can't remember who said this, but you know, if the first thing you do in a day is to make your bed, right? You get up, you make your bed. It doesn't matter how the rest of the day goes. You've already accomplished something, right? You accomplished something that people can't take away from you. Like I got up, I made sure that bed was squared away, beautiful, tucked in nice, clean, ready for me to go to bed later on at night where I'll be exhausted. I know I gave a good hard day's work. That rest is a reward for me. And I'm going into a bed that's nice and clean and squared and nice and blah, blah, blah. And I love that. I love that because now you're looking again at the accomplishments that you're making, the little wins. And I think we all need to take that. I used to do these types of videos all the time, and I stopped. I don't know, life got in the way or whatever. But like today, I had a bunch of bad news. I shared with you guys that I'm dealing with the state for back taxes and whatnot, and I got a certified mail came to the door and let me know that there's a lien on the house and all this other fun stuff. And it's nothing major. And once I pay it off, within 30, 90 days or something like that, the lien's removed or whatever. It's not like trying to sell the house or anything else. And I'm not overly concerned about things like credit right at the moment. But I had I drank a lot last night, so I was a little bit, my body felt like it was poisoned, which basically it was. And so mentally, I could have spiraled and just been like really negative and really pissed off and everything else. But I just said, okay, it's being worked on. It's not something for me to get overly upset about. And so I'm just reading through comments and I'm watching people put out videos and I'm looking at really horrible things that people are saying to each other. And I'm just like, what does that get? What does that get you? What does tearing another person down achieve for you? So I know some of the answers. Some of the answer is you make somebody else feel as bad as you, and that's where that expression "misery loves company," or you dehumanize another person by calling them a label or a name, and then somehow you feel superior to that person. But as far as for humanity, what does it do for you? I mean, is it really making your day better? Are you that kind of an evil person where tearing another person down publicly is something that makes you feel good? I saw that movie Two Guns Akimbo, I think, and it was there's a part in there I kind of thought was funny, and I actually have a story that I was gonna write it's one of the like 120 stories that I've got queued up. But in Two Guns Akimbo, the guy's a troll and he's sitting there just talking smack, and then they find where he's at and they make him pay. And they bolt two guns on him and put him in this like this hunt kill or be killed type of a scenario. But it's just interesting to me as I was sitting there looking at all of this vileness, all of this venom that's just being spread around. And I think in some ways we've all been affected by something far worse than COVID-19 could ever hope to be. You know, I mean, we all are human beings. We all share very similar uh, wants and needs. And as I look around at people, it just breaks my heart. I just see all these people, and then the quote unquote leadership everywhere is a joke. They use words that they don't back up with actions. They talk about unity, but then their actions create the opposite. And it's really plain for us to see. It's really evident. It's right there in front of us. But I think people are more comfortable playing the game and dealing with what they know. And I think that's gonna be a common thread inside of the story that I'm gonna write. There's going to be a sense of this ominous change, and people don't know how to deal with it. They don't know how to process it, and they keep trying to do their normal stuff. It's kind of like a fisherman getting his net fixed and mended every single day, but the water is receding out, and there is no more ocean for him to throw his net out. But yet and still every single day he's working on that net because he's like, oh, the water will come back, the water will come back. And but the person who is like, that will affect change will say, no, that water doesn't look like it's coming back. I think we need to find out why the water is going. And he'll go out in unknown areas to see what's going on, and then face whatever is there, and then do what needs to be done to bring the water back, right? So, we see that's a perfect analogy for some of the people that we see. And I try to tell, I was telling my friend, I said, dude, the best thing you could do is to call your friend back, squash it, just be cool, and you guys can agree to disagree on things. You don't have to be enemies. That's when it becomes so polarized that based off of a differing opinion, now that person is the enemy. It bothers me. It bothers me. There, and I think I will, in the stories, there will be opposing groups of people that have differing needs. There might be contested land or whatever, but even when there's battles or everything, there's still respect. Like, they respect each other, and they are willing to have conversations and have cooling off periods and kind of, okay, fine, we're too heated, we're too angry right now, as is the way, we will part, but come back in 30 days, and then they'll come back and then they'll talk it out, and come to some kind of agreement, because they understand that life is precious and valuable, and you don't want to go to war, and because war is kind of the last thing you want to do. Nobody wins. Nobody ever wins in war. So I think I could be a little naive in those writings, but more than anything else, what I want to embody in those writings are the core principles of the things that I hold dear, that I may have failed as a father to instill in my children the way that I wish I could have. So maybe in the writing, it will, it'll spark maybe some young imaginative mind and take seed, because I don't think we need more leaders. I don't think we need better governments. I think we collectively need to get our shit together and govern ourselves, because it is very apparent to me that any of the people that are our quote unquote elected leaders really don't care about us. Not the way they should. Not the way they should. And I think, to be honest and fair, I think some try. Some go in bright-eyed, bushy-tailed and think that they're going to be the one to make change. But then as soon as they press up against that machinery, they're like, fuck, there's no way I can change this shit. And then what happens? They get fucking jaded, or they become compromised or whatever. And then they just fall in line like the rest of them. So I think inside of my stories, it's, you have large groups of people, they work together. You could have some other groups of people, they do have governments, but maybe those governments are a whole lot less intrusive. And, you know, it's kind of like the the elders or whatever, they are the ones that advise. They just let you know, hey, we tried that. We got fucked up. Don't go to that cave. That cave is filled with all kinds of, big, hairy, shark teeth and claws. Don't go in there. But, the youngsters, they always do. And, the elders will just kind of chuckle and lift their shirts and see the scars on their bodies and smile and say, okay, maybe it'll be different for them. They don't control them. They warn them. They make decisions collectively to, you know, help the group out, but everybody has a voice. That's the thing that kind of bugs me too. Like I hear a lot of people claiming that America is a democracy. It's not a democracy, it's a republic. And there's a very important distinction there. In a republic, everybody has a voice. A democracy, well, it sucks if you're the minority with a differing opinion, because the majority is going to crush you. You know, I'd like to write stories where one guy has a differing opinion on stuff, and the elders, because they've never heard it, are intrigued. And they invite that young person up, and they ask him, why do you think that way? What makes you think that? What observation did you have that led you to that conclusion? Because it's counter to theirs. And they're not filled with a whole lot of hubris and ego and everything else. They're receptive, right? Yeah. Because it's programming. It's programming. You hear it over and over and over again, then you're ignorant. You don't know that that is incorrect, and then you will repeat it. That is one thing that humanity is really good at, is repeating, but that's how we stayed alive. It's funny. But yes, I know that. So, the elders would look at this opposing point of view and welcome it, because this person might have some new information that is beneficial to the group as a whole. And so they vet it, they listen, then they bring other people in that may be experts that they are not, and then they all collectively kind of, powwow on it. Like, okay, well, there's only one way we can prove what he said, and that's for us to have others go and substantiate his claims. And so then a group would go and look, they'd say, yes, he's right. And then now the group would be faced with something, faced with something that is change. And that's the one thing that a lot of people are not opposed to, but averse to. A lot of people do not like the core concept of change. We see that with people in bad relationships, toxic relationships all the time. They get comfortable. They just don't want to change. They'd rather deal with a really shitty situation than go into the unknown, So that's my 2021 goal. I'm scrapping all the current writing projects that I have right now, other than finishing. God, I do need to finish that one. I'm gonna finish the Magic Revelation just because I meant to finish that last year, and I got a bunch of stuff. Um, but after I'm done with that, I'm gonna start building this world. I'm gonna start, you know, and I think the way I'm gonna flesh the world out is I'm gonna start it small inside of one area, and then I'll go on a different side of it, and then I'll go on a different side of it, and then as these stories come out, you have a whole world, and you know because human beings are diverse, and we have difference of likes and tastes and things like that. So I think it would be fun to borrow from our world and then build upon it. Build a better structure and stuff. Um, and then just make it. My goal is to make it so enticing that if someone were to pose you a question, if you could drop everything right now and go to whatever the Earth is called, whatever the realm, the world, the thing that is in the story, the lore, the mythology, whatever. If you could go there, would you go there? My goal is to have a vast majority of people that read go, fuck, I wish I lived there, and I think that would be amazing because um, let's see what did Brian say here. Best settings ever, yeah. Palladium's Rift RPG, yeah. So Tolkien really set the stage for a lot of fantasy-based stuff, and then there were derivative genre splits after that. I was talking to my daughter. I said H.P. Lovecraft was known for his whole Cthulhu mythos and all of that stuff. Um, I would like to have something like that as my legacy, where I have created a series of books that subliminally, for lack of a better thing, indoctrinate the reader into the core principles of, honor, virtue, humility, blah blah blah. The positive things that I look at in beacons of light inside of humanity, and in that way, I feel good because the stories that I have now are entertaining, but like, dude, just kill yourself, augmented truth, um, infernal justice. Phew, that's a dark one. Um, what was that one? Rusted blade. That's fucking dark too. And then three simple rules. Three simple rules wasn't super dark, but it is still kind of a dystopian future. So I think that way I feel good. I get these out into the wild, and you know, I get one person come back and tell me, yeah, me and my family read your stories, and they they help us dream of a better world, you know, because it would, like I said, the whole thing is the actions of the characters in the story when the things start to go sideways, repair and fix it, and I would love for that to be infectious and subconsciously change people here. Yeah, Harry's situation was also pretty. It was super dark and dystopian. Magic really sucks. Wasn't as dark and stuff like that, but it's still not something I'm super duper 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 proud about. Same with Convergence 2012, because both of those stories take place in our world. Just kind of alternate variants of our world. So, but this one just be completely new. Like, I can even see, like, I'm putting my DM hat on, and I'm like world building. So like, I'm gonna draw maps. I'm gonna do the whole 9 yard. I'm gonna figure out economies and all the other stuff like that. I'm gonna figure out, like, different religions, all kinds of stuff. And but the big difference is, even though everything is there, and there are skirmishes, and there are certain contested things and everything else. That version of humanity, though, is just filled with respect. And it's because as a collective whole, they hold certain things above all else. And one of those is respect for life. So, I think just that core concept, like, we say there's evil people and there's dark people and stuff like that. Well, we allow those dark people. If we had a system that existed, that we respect life, so somebody goes and kills somebody to take what they have, it's not even, the theft is not even a big deal there. It's the fact that he killed another person, right? That's wrong. It's like, you shouldn't do that. And so if there is a thing like they respect life, so like even that person, even though he killed somebody, they don't kill him, but maybe what they do is he's exiled, and there's just an area that is just really dangerous. They give him gear and they say bye bye, and that's that, right? And they keep their societies weeded that way, so they're constantly weeding their environments to make sure your occasional bad seed that pops up, you know do they have to be human? You can go ET with this, be easier for world building. That could be, but I kind of want to make it approachable. I kind of want people to look at the characters and, empathize with them and say, yeah, I could see. Because the problem with it being an alien is people could just point to and say, well, yeah, aliens are evolved and they're superior to us, maybe intellectually and everything else. I want to prove that humanity, in the right circumstances and the right thinking, could have this and could have this life, right? And I think that would be more impactful. But I also think it'd be interesting to have different stuff. So, all right, guys. I went a little bit longer than I thought I was going to. I figured it was only going to be like a 30-minute video, but yeah, I definitely think there is outside influences on us that are making the world feel upside down. And so I just invite all of you to just take a moment throughout the day and see if what you're feeling and how you're acting is normal for your personality, right? And just, check yourself. Just make sure you're being true to who you are. Don't let these outside influences morph you or radicalize you or make you or turn you dark, right? We want to be the examples for those around us of what a righteous good person should be. So it's a tough one, but like I said, find the little things that you can pick throughout the day and go, yeah, I did that. I was able to get out of bed, get around, and actually do a few things and hang out with you folks. So that's gonna be it for now, guys. Yeah, there's just so much negativity everywhere, but seek out the good things and embrace those things, because guys, there's so much good shit around us. It's not even fucking funny. It's not even funny. There's good shit. There's so much goodness around us, but there's also so much negativity, and it's our way to pay attention to the negative because we're trying to survive. But that's it. I just wanted to share with you guys my thought process, and so when you guys see these stories start to take place and in shape and everything else, you go, aha. And you guys will know, it was early 2021 when Rob had that epiphany and decided he was going to take his skill set and try to create vehicles of change. Okay? All right, guys. If you like it, please subscribe, tell your friends far and wide. Until next time, please be good to yourself, good to each other, go out, live life to the fullest, ride a bus to the wheels fall off, have some adventures, get some scars, and all that jazz. And I'll see you guys again.